Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. What a great evening we're going to have tonight. And we always have great evenings, but tonight is swearing in 2 officers, and that's a great night tonight. But this is official Bristol Township Council meeting, April 20, 2023. Starting time looks like 7:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Moment of silence for all our personnel overseas, our military overseas, military here, our men and women in blue that protect us day in and day out, and our emergency responders. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And allergy medicine. Again, great to see everybody coming out. We need roll call, please.
President Bowen.
Here.
Vice President Murphy.
Present.
Mr. Antonello.
Here.
Mr. Blaylock.
Here.
Ms. Dunlap.
Here.
Mrs. Wagner.
Present.
Before the meeting started, we met in executive session. Mr. Flagger.
Mr. President, Council, before the meeting, we met in executive session, discussed litigation matters, personnel, and police matters.
Thank you. Monthly reports are available for review in the Township Manager's office. Public comments will be taken on land development and official action items. General comments will be taken during opportunity for residents to address council. Next, we have a presentation, Police Department new officer ceremony swearing in. Chief Colton.
Good evening, Chief.
Good to see you.
Good evening again. And once again, I'd like to thank council and manager and the Bristol Township community for their support of the police department and everything that we do. We really appreciate it. And tonight we have 2 more officers who joined our police department in April of 2022 that will be ceremoniously sworn in tonight. So the first officer I'd like to call up is Tristan Sharp. Come on up, Tristan. This is Officer Tristan Sharp, badge number 199. Tristan grew up in Sussex County, New Jersey. He's a New Jersey resident at first, and he graduated from the Delaware Valley High School in Milford, Pennsylvania in 2015. He also attended Sussex County Community College and graduated with an associate's degree in criminal justice. Prior to coming to Bristol Township, he was a juvenile detention officer in Sussex County, New Jersey. Tristan graduated and attended the Temple University Police Academy, graduating in October of 2022. He's assigned to the Patrol Division, and at this time, I'd like to call up his fiancée, Megan, who will hold the Bible while the Honorable Judge Kevin Wagner presents the oath of office.
Repeat after me. Do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will enforce the laws
and that I will enforce the laws
of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania
of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania
and the ordinances of Bristol Township,
and the ordinances of Bristol Township,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity,
integrity,
and honesty,
and honesty,
without consideration
to
a person's
race,
color, sex, religious creed, sexual orientation,
age,
national origin, ancestry, handicap, or disability. As a police officer with the Bristol Township Police Department,
as a police officer with the Bristol Township Police Department.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Good job.
What's that?
Officer Sharp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Nice try, Chris. That's all right. They got a snug over here.
Trouble here.
Got a snug over here. Yeah. Yeah.
The second officer that we'll be swearing in tonight, I'd like to call up Officer William Schmidt, badge number 200. William?
199, 200.
This is Officer William Schmidt. Officer Schmidt grew up in Springfield Township, Montgomery County, and attended Springfield Township High School, and also attended the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology, graduating from both in 2017. He also attended Penn State University, graduating in May of 2022 with a bachelor's degree in history. Again, in April of 2022, Officer Schmidt was hired by the Bristol Township Police Department, and he attended and graduated from the Temple University Police Academy. Officer Schmidt is also assigned to the Patrol Division, and I'd like to call up his brother Peter, who will be holding the Bible for the oath of office. Peter?
Right hand, please. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support,
I will support,
obey, and defend
the
the Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will enforce the laws
and that I will enforce the laws
of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania
of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania
and the ordinances of Bristol Township,
and ordinances of Bristol Township,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
with fidelity,
with
integrity,
integrity,
honesty,
and honesty,
without consideration
without consideration
to a person's race,
person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
religious
religious creed,
creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap, or disability.
handicap, or disability.
As a police officer
As a police officer
with the Bristol Township Police Department,
with the Bristol Township Police Department.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Next month, yeah.
Thank you, Judge Wagner. Great to see you. Okay. We're going to amend the agenda right now. We're going to amend the agenda from, right now, next would be, moving it up to, we're going to move 10A up on the agenda. We need a motion to do that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Cindy Murphy,
I'll second it.
second by Marcia Dunlap on the motion. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. That's under new business application of, finance? Fonts, thank you. Thanks, Pat. SY LLC 76 Craft Lane, Levittown, requesting conditional use in order to create 3 apartments units within an existing 2-story mixed-use structure on a property located at 2000 Bath Road, Bristol, tax parcel number 5-29-88, and a R1 residential zone district.
Thank you. We appreciate the courtesy, as always. Good evening, council. My name is Mike McGinnis. I'm here on behalf of Fonts SY LLC. As the council president indicated, the subject property is depicted on the screen before you this evening, is located at 2000 Bath Road. The tax parcel is 5-29-88. I'm here tonight with Yaro Yarima, owner of the LLC, and to my right is Jim Oakes from Tri-State, our engineer. We are here for conditional use consideration to allow for the conversion of the existing structure on the property, which is depicted right here. It's this structure, it's a little, almost like a J shape, into 3 residential apartment units. The subject property is zoned R1 residential. It is approximately a quarter-acre lot. As you can see, and I'll highlight here, it's really a triangularly shaped lot. This is approximately the lot boundary. The site is bounded by Bath Road and Oxford Valley Road. Historically, the property has been used as a mixed-use building. It was discussed at the Planning Commission, a variety of the commercial tenants over the years. I think it was discussed that there was a dress shop, a flower shop, a grocer here as an example. There's always been an apartment on the second floor of the structure, and presently the building is vacant. My client purchased the property a little less than a year ago with the intent of converting the structure and removing and replacing the 2 commercial spaces on the first floor and converting them into residential apartments. Technically, because of the conversion, this constitutes a A6 use, which in Bristol's ordinance is a residential conversion. That would result in the creation of 3 separate residential apartments at the property, which generates the need for the conditional use approval. Specifically, the conversion would change the 2 commercial uses on the first floor to residential, one of which would be ADA accessible and 3-bedroom. The other one would be 2-bedroom. The second floor would be unchanged. That is a 2-bedroom residential unit. There are 3 separate distinct points of access on the property, and that again will remain unchanged. We are also updating the site in some fashion to be ADA compliant. That includes the installation of an ADA parking space and striping and improving the parking lot as a minor site improvement. There are no structural improvements associated with the application. If you look at the site plan, the entrance to the property will be here off of Bath Road in, and there will be a right turn only out onto Oxford Valley Road. I know it was discussed there will not be a left turn out from the site. We volunteered that we will work with the township if we're fortunate enough to receive conditional use approval to go through land development if necessary, and I think it was discussed at the Planning Commission to do certain improvements, perhaps like install a guide rail. I know that over the last couple decades, I think there have been 3 separate incidents where a vehicle has actually crashed into the property, so we're mindful of that and willing to undertake some improvements to try to make as safe a condition as possible at this site. My understanding and was again discussed at the Planning Commission is the township does have a concern, generally speaking, regarding A6 residential conversions of single-family homes. We discussed at the Planning Commission, this is a bit of a unique situation. We don't think that the grant of this conditional use would create any sort of negative precedent, again, because of the unique circumstances here, given the historic use and the fact that the surrounding community is primarily residential in nature. There's already adequate parking, and we think that this is certainly a reduction in parking moving forward or traffic moving forward going from commercial to residential at this location. My client is already expending and will continue to expend resources to renovate the property, to improve the aesthetics, and again, there is no change to the footprint or the setback at the location. There are 4 very general conditional use criteria, and I'll just state them briefly. That the use is suitable for the property in question and designed in harmony with the character of the general vicinity, which we believe this clearly is in conformance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. Again, this application is, and there are no alterations to the site in terms of setbacks and structural improvements, that this is suitable regarding the impact on traffic and protection from congestion. Again, we think this is a market improvement, in fact, with respect to traffic at this particular location, and then in accordance with sound development standards. And again, there's very limited site alterations with this proposal before you this evening. So we believe we satisfied the conditional use criteria, and we believe this is an improvement of a sort of a Frankenstein monster of a use historically. So that is a summary of our presentation. I have Jim Oakes with me if there's any questions from an engineering standpoint, and again, I have my client with me if there's any questions on his end. Otherwise, again, thank you as always.
Aesthetically, it's I know you said you're going to do some, I guess, housekeeping, but is there, not getting too far in the weeds, what's that look like? You know, painting the building?
Painting, siding, roof repair, generally speaking. You can see there was an exactly.
I
There was
see
an
that.
architectural submission.
Thanks,
One of
Rachel.
one of the units, that the ADA unit on the first floor, right now, it looks like there's no windows. If you go to one of the pictures, there's gonna be a whole number of cosmetic improvements to make, right there,
Right.
to make this actually look like an appropriate residential dwelling.
Okay.
Along with all the appropriate landscaping and so forth. And, yeah, I think that's what Craig was probably referring to.
Yes.
And you're going to figure out, you're going to come up with some sort of plan to protect the building itself moving forward, since we're doing all this work, from, an errant car?
From vehicular issues
Yeah.
moving forward, and that's why the guide rail topic arose, is.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're gonna be working with Kurt's office and PennDOT to try to figure out a way to adequately protect any individuals who would be residing here, that's right.
That makes
And the
complete
two-car
sense.
garage,
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
is that staying?
The
Or?
garage is staying.
Okay.
Again, there's no alteration, it's right here on the site, the footprint of everything else is remaining.
Is the plan for the garage to be made available to one or more of the tenants, or will the owner just keep that to store his? Just curious about that.
We're probably gonna do it, yeah, for the storage. We haven't decided that yet, but maybe we'll rent it out if it's maybe like an ADA type of client.
In other words, be part of of somebody who's renting.
It wouldn't be a,
Yeah, it's not gonna be the owner is gonna rent. Yeah, it's gonna be one of the.
Or you'll keep, you may even keep one bay for your own equipment and storage.
it
of
wouldn't be a separate
maintenance
commercial
stuff.
use.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Correct.
I want to make sure that
That's
it's
right.
not going to be,
It had to be utilized either by the owner of the premises or one of the tenants,
thank you,
yes.
appreciate that. Okay, that's it for me.
All right, need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Patrick Antonello, second by Miriam Wagner on the motions, or any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you again, I
Yep, you're
appreciate
welcome.
that, thank you.
Got it.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Jim, don't talk so much.
Okay, we're moving right along on the agenda. Next on the agenda is 2022 year-end reviews of wastewater treatment plant and the sewer department. Oh. I think Steve will need a microphone. Unless you want to just lean on over.
Whatever's easiest.
There you go.
I think we can make this work. Sure, so I'm Steve Walsh, I'm with Gilmore and Associates. This is Kyle Pamacala and Mike Wogelmuth. They're
Steve,
with
hold
the-
on 1 second. Gentlemen, Mike, thank you. There we go.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Walsh with Gilmore and Associates. This is Kyle Pamacala and Mike Wogelmuth. They are with Inframark. They are the operators of the wastewater treatment plant. Our team comprises of not only us, but also your township manager, Randy Elton, and also Charlie Dernley, your public works director, who we coordinate with monthly. Inframark has 7 full or part-time employees who help to operate not only the wastewater treatment plant, but the sanitary mains that total approximately 72 miles of gravity sewer, as well as now 19 pump stations after the dedication of the Phyllis and Anthony pump station earlier this year. Here's a list of several projects that we've undertaken since stepping into the role as your township sewer engineer. There is, of course, a wastewater treatment plant expansion, which I will only touch on briefly. There have been several sanitary pipe televising and slip lining projects that have been performed by Mr. Rehab. The 2021 and 2022 sanitary pipe replacement projects performed by Pact One and Anrich. We have replaced the Atkins pump station, which sends flow to the former Bristol Borough Sewer Authority treatment plant and is now owned by Bucks County Water and Sewer. We have updated your map, which has been a long-standing request at DEP. And Inframark has been working on your check valve replacement project, which they will get into a little bit later. just a brief overview. Everybody on council, of course, is aware that you've been under consent decree since 2010. That is supposed to come to an end in July of 2024, so that is the good news. As of right now, Blooming Glen is anticipating to be complete construction in October of the wastewater treatment plant expansion, assuming we continue to meet effluent requirements, which we believe we will. Then we are hoping to actually move up that timeline to happen before July of 2024. The existing facility is biologically rated at 2.25 million gallons a day with a hydraulic of 3. The expanded will be at 3.75 million gallons a day with a hydraulic of 5 million gallons a day. There's a new clarifier, new chlorine contact tank, new splitter box, related piping, modifications to the existing grip building, and updates to the chemical building. Work started in January of 2022. That's what the site looked like before at the beginning in January, and that's what it looks like right now. As you can see, it's completely under construction. Blooming Glen is currently excavating for the final clarifier. It is the last building that is required to be installed, and most of the yard piping, they're about 90% complete on their yard piping as well. So everything is looking positively at the moment. One of the big undertakings that we've taken between Mr. Rehab's help with the televising and slip lining and with the 2 pipe replacement projects that have been undertaken is that we have significantly decreased the amount of I&I, that's inflow and infiltration, that has been getting into the sanitary system since 2019 and 20 when we started to get involved. In 2019, Bristol Township experienced 50.1 inches of rain. Your average annual flow at the wastewater treatment plant was 4.12 million gallons a day. That is 1.12 million gallons a day greater than what you are hydraulically permitted to discharge. In 2022, we had 47.4 inches of rain. And due to the grant funding of about $2.5 million that we've spent on I&I abatement work between the televising, slip lining, and pipe replacement, in 2022, your flows were at 2.69 million gallons a day. That is below your hydraulic number by 0.31 million gallons a day. It's a 5.4% decrease in rain and a 34.7% reduction in flow since 2019. Our statistics show that during extreme wet weather in the 4 areas that we've targeted thus far, you have received about a 60% reduction in I&I flow in each of those 4 subservice areas. Amen. So this gives you a little bit more of a numbers crunching, so I'll keep it brief. In 2019, from then till now in 2022, the price of chemicals, maintenance, your utility bills, et cetera, has gone up about $1 per 1,000 gallons for treatment due to the reduction of I&I in the system. In 2022 alone, we saved the township $175,000 in operating costs. In addition, for the first time in several years, DEP granted an increase to EDUs, which allowed continued growth within the township. And it is our expectation that next year, we will be out of the connection management plan requirement that has been limiting some developers in a timely manner to be able to construct. Here's some pictures from the I&I projects. Some road restorations all the way to the right. That's a sanitary manhole being replaced there in the center. And that is on the left. That's a picture of a guy very deep in a hole trying to repair sanitary manholes that are quite deep. Right now, we are running into similar issues with this current project where we are also continuing to update manholes, replacing pipe, and of course, restoring roadways. This is my last topic that I'll be touching on, and that is pump station work. The Atkins pump station was completed in March of 2022. The July 2021 storm caused the Bristol Park pump station to become inundated and cease operation. Infomark replaced the pumps and controls of the station and brought it back online. They also, with the help of Public Works and Charlie Durnley, were able to flood-proof that particular pump station so that it will not flood again in the future. It is located in the 100-year floodplain and should have been updated prior, but we were able to tackle it now. Infomark also replaced the guts of the Hartel pump station this year, and it is now operating accordingly. Lastly, we are currently out. We have already bid the project for the Beaver Dam pump station replacement. Blooming Glen was awarded that contract. They expect to start work in late June or early July on that pump station replacement, and that has been Kyle's thorn in his side since he took over at Infomark, and so we're happy to say that we're going to be able to fix that one. Okay, needle, even better. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Kyle.
I'm not nearly as tall as Steve, so I can put this down. My name's Kyle Pomacala. I'm the project manager for Infomark down at the Croydon plant. I'm just going to briefly go over some of the stuff that we did last year. So this is the Bristol Park pump station. It's located at the end of Oak Avenue. That pump station received a lot of water in July of 2021 and completely flooded it, both the wet well and dry well, so all the electronics were completely ruined. We were able to bring everything up to grade, so you can see in the second picture there, that's our new control panel as opposed to the one from 1946. Also, the third picture is the wet well, we call it. That's where the water comes in. With the help of Charlie and his crew, we were able to raise that 18 inches, so flood water cannot get in there anymore. We are looking to do this to all of our underground stations to help mitigate any issues like this, flooding-wise, and safety issues with our guys. So that's all I need for that one.
This one was on bypass for almost a year.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Yes. Does anyone know what a check valve is, if I say that word? Yeah. So a check valve more or less allows water to go one way and not come back the other. You'll see in that top left picture, it's kind of hard to see, but it's an inline check valve. They suck. So going forward, if anyone, that is the technical wastewater term. They are unserviceable, they leak, they don't last very long, so if in the future someone says, hey, I have these great check valves, I don't care if they give them away for free, just don't do them, they're not good. You can see in the bottom two pictures there, those style check valves are completely serviceable. You can take them apart, you can clean them, you can rebuild them for a couple $100 less than a brand new one. So to buy a brand new inline check valve is what I'm saying, because they are not serviceable. Once they start leaking, they're done. Who likes wipies here, or baby wipes? They're wonderful for your heinies, but not so much for the pumps and the check valves. So I beg you, people, please, try not to use them. Unless you live in Levittown and your water goes lower bucks, use them all you want.
You can use them, don't flush them.
Yes, even if it says that they're flushable, they're not. It's all a scam.
There are not.
So these are bar screens that were at the treatment station, so they catch all the larger debris coming in. And then they kind of cram it, dewater it, and it comes out in a nice little ball. We've captured about 2 to 3 times the amount than we were prior. So it's kind of hard to explain without you actually seeing how it works. But so like rags, feminine products, bags, shoes, shirts, anything like that that ends up down at the plant gets caught in this thing. And there's a compactor with a big screw, and it squeezes it, gets all the water out of it. And we were only, so we have a, what is that, a 5-yard dumpster, Mike, do you remember? A 5-yard dumpster that we were pulling once a year. We've already pulled it twice this year. Why is that? Because we're capturing more rags. Yeah, so these things are awesome. They were worth every penny. I don't have any pictures of the old ones, but they were about 10 foot tall. And they were made of plastic and,
Oh,
yeah, they were junk.
Somebody's bright idea.
Yes,
I want to ask you about capturing that. Is that down at the plant you're capturing it?
Yes, that's down at
Just
the
to be
plant.
clear, not at the pump stations?
yeah.
So it's at the plant, but that product is already going through the pumps down to the plant?
Most of that stuff is probably from the gravity section.
Okay.
Because the majority of our larger pump stations have what's called a muffin monster.
Okay,
And that'll,
they would catch that.
that'll eat everything up.
Oh,
yeah.
it eats it, it's a mulcher.
More or less, yeah.
Okay, got it, okay.
Yeah. So this is just the work overall that we completed last year. We completed 3,160 work orders through the year. And as you can see, that number is only going to go up with the expansion. We're going to have a lot more equipment once we update our system and everything. And you can see at the bottom there, some of the months are missing letters because they weren't in the budget that month, so tough crowd, Jesus. Next one. This is permit violations. They were missing letters. It was a bad joke. I tell good jokes when I'm nervous, so yeah, it's okay. The next one will be amazing. So as you can see through our colors here, light blue was last year. We had 0 permit violations last year.
From the DEP?
Correct. Yes.
Is that the first time?
That was first one in, what, 12 years, I think?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you.
And again, the permit violations because the plant was over, hydraulic overloaded.
That and the water coming in was very diluted. It was a lot of rainwater, yeah. Yeah, more or less, yeah. So you can see even in 2021, we only had 1 or 2, and 2020 we had a handful, but like we were just saying, a majority of that is because we, A, got a new permit, and B, most importantly, is the I&I has been gotten under control. Thanks to Steve and Mr. Rehab and everybody involved.
And that makes the plant run more efficient.
Yes. Yes, the bugs are happier.
Yeah.
They don't tell me that, but they show me that through our lab results, yeah. And finally, our 2023 goals continue to find innovative ways to reduce costs to collect, convey, and treat wastewater. There's an additional $1.4 million of I&I abatement projects planned. It's anticipated that the annual average flows at the treatment plant will continue to decrease as a result of the ongoing slip lining and pipe replacement work, further reducing non-personnel related costs to treat generated wastewater. And finally, be a better steward of the environment by reducing illicit discharges and regain the trust of PA, DEP, and EPA, which was lacking in years past. But I would like to take this time to thank everybody in this room who has made my job infinitely easier, because I had a lot of sleepless nights when I first signed on for this, which...
How long ago was that, Kyle?
You've been here since?
About 5 years, yeah.
When Infomark came on, you were part of the original team?
No, I came in August.
August, all right,
Yeah.
but close to the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of sleepless nights. I had a lot of tears, yeah, a lot of tears in 2021 specifically. If you were in the Winder Village area during that day, you probably saw me weeping in the streets, because it was just one thing after another.
Listen,
Yeah.
we were all upset over COVID.
Yes, this is my work dad, Mike.
And we would just like to thank everybody for your support on making our jobs easier, so, thank you.
I have a quick question, if I may. How many full-time employees are working on a day-to-day basis with Infomark on our plant?
It's 7 full-time and we have 1 part-time.
1 part-time, okay. So that's every day, 5 days, or,
Yeah, well, 5 days a week, and then somebody comes in weekends and holidays just to do the.
yeah, there is
operational
somebody
checks.
there,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That's what I thought. I just, very good. Thank you, I appreciate that. And with the new equipment, when everything comes online, we expect to have the same type of manpower servicing the plant?
Yeah, I mean, things should only really get easier with, the I&I abatement.
One would hope. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To be automated, so they'll be able to tell what's going on from the control building.
That's what I was thinking.
Steve, I want to ask you one question. We have Lower Bucks Joint, handles Bristol Township, and we have the Croydon plant. Is there, I'm probably going to be, is there a way to know what goes to the Croydon plant? Like if you go down 413, that mostly is going to the Croydon plant, and everything on this side goes up to the Levittown plant, Lower Bucks Joint. Is that too simplified, or is?
No, that's not too simplified. So we have.
Can you, Steve?
Sorry, yeah. So we have the Beaver Dam Pump Station, which is on Airport Road. And then you have the Hartel Pump Station and the Radcliffe Pump Station. That whole area down there filters into the Palmer Pump Station, which then sends flow to Lower Bucks Joint Municipal Authority for treatment.
So over there is Lower Bucks.
So everything over there is Lower Bucks. Everything above Ford Road goes to either the Queen Anne Interceptor, which is owned by TOFA, or directly to Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority's Neshaminy Interceptor. That goes down to the city of Philadelphia for treatment.
And that's in the Fergusonville area, that plant.
That's
So
correct.
further down, that all goes to the Croydon plant? If we go down if we go down Newportville Road? Does that make
Croydon Acres,
all
Croydon
that?
Manor, yes, that all comes down to the Croydon wastewater treatment plant.
And
So
where-
everything south of Ford Road
Okay,
comes down to the Croydon wastewater treatment plant.
okay.
Yes.
If you go down 413 to the right, which is West Bristol, that area, would that go to the Croydon
So
plant?
part of Delhas, part of FDR, that also comes to Croydon, yes.
Okay, so what,
On the
my
other
question, to have enough capacity, eventually FDR is going to get developed because they're going to sell it. And, what's that? Yeah, okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yeah, that's
That's
us.
great.
And
That
then,
simplifies
and
it.
then there is one pump station up on that Ford Road side, and that's the I-95 pump station. It collects wastewater from Grundy Lane, which is where Second Sin Brewery and the axe throwing place are. And then there's also an industrial park off of Crossings Drive that also flows to the I-95 pump station and then is then pumped down to the Croydon wastewater treatment
Okay.
plant for treatment.
Great, thank you for simplifying that.
Of course.
And I know some people might be at home going, who cares? But this is the infrastructure which was yeah, it needed to be rebuilt, and somehow we were, with good engineers and Infomark, we're able to rebuild the infrastructure. It was.
Grant money.
Yeah, with grant money, right, but good people overseeing the grant
Smart,
money.
Right, exactly.
We're able to do this, and you might not see it underground, but this was well needed. Otherwise, we're gonna have some serious problem. Plus, we couldn't develop anything, like I was saying, because there just wasn't a capacity. And maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, it depends on how you look at that. But it was desperately needed, and we're in compliance, and at the end of the day, everything goes into the river. So if it's, the plant's functioning correctly, it's great for the environment. And we did it without, we always say, without tax increases over almost 11 years now. So, but that's the help of the grant money and your firm doing it. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. So when I flush my toilet, I'm going to be thinking of you guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
fellas.
thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks so much, and thanks for coming out tonight.
Next, we have comprehensive park recreation, open space, greenways, and trails plan. We go from sewer to trails. Are we going to put some porta potties on this, some bathrooms?
I don't know, it was a
We-
tough act
we-
to follow, I
We'll
don't know.
be able to hook it up now.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find something to flesh in there for you, I'm just not sure where. Okay,
All right.
so we're here tonight, this will be public meeting number 2 to solicit public input from council and from members of the public.
Who are you?
I was just getting to that, you're winding me up. I'm Judy Stern Goldstein with Gilmore and Associates. I'm part of the project team running this project. With me is Emily Paskowitz, also with Gilmore, and Patrick Graham, our park and recreation specialist for this project. We also have a couple members of the steering committee and some stakeholders here this evening.
Okay, great.
So we'll get started. We have a few meeting goals for tonight. Can you hear me, or am I too far from the microphone?
No, you're good, I think.
There we go. Okay, we'll do this. That's right, I'm shorter than Steve. Yes. Okay, so the first goal for tonight is to inform and educate about parks and recreation and the project's background and goals. The second goal for the evening is to share our findings thus far and get feedback on the plan's recommendations for parks, open space, greenways, trails, and recreation programming and management. There'll be separate sections for each. And our third goal for the evening is to provide information about the future timeline and how to stay engaged with the project moving forward, basically how we get to the end. Next slide. We'll start off with what a comprehensive parks, recreation, greenways, open space, greenways, and trails plan is. It's a comprehensive planning document that will help guide policy and decisions for the future of Bristol Township's park, recreation, and open space facilities. Basically, your blueprint for the future. It will also serve as your master plan from which to use to obtain grants for other implementation projects. The plan will analyze and look broadly at your parks, recreation, open space, greenways, and trails within the township and develop recommendations for the future. It will identify both short and long-term goals for community recreation, conservation, and it'll create a prioritized action plan. You'll actually have an action plan that you can check things off as you go. You can measure your implementation. Yeah, don't we all? It's a good thing. And then as township residents and elected officials, we're here to solicit your input for this evening and make sure that your voices are all heard throughout the plan. We gave you the goals for the evening, now I'm going to give you the goals for the plan. It's to provide a broad range of passive and active recreation programs, look at park and facility maintenance management and financing, make sure we create a support structure to take us into the future, encourage biking and walking by promoting and maintaining existing trails, enhancing connectivity, making sure people can get where they want to get and not have to get into a car. Also examine existing greenways and open spaces, identify opportunities to preserve, protect, and enhance those areas. And most importantly, why is Bristol developing this plan? Why do we care? It's to understand the community's needs and desires for the township's park recreation now and in the future. We want to make sure that this plan is the voice of the community. We're professionals, but this is not our plan. It's Bristol Township's plan. It's unique to you and needs to reflect your goals and objectives and those of the township. It's to develop a big picture for the goals for the future of the township's park and recreation, strategize and prioritize improvements that need to be made, and to receive continued financial support from the state and build more parks, trails, recreation, open space facilities in the future, and most importantly, to maintain those amazing facilities that you have today. I think that's like going to be one of the overarching goals of this plan. Make sure we're taking care of the many, many parks and recreation open space areas you have now while continuing to offer first-rate services for the future. So briefly, where we are to date, we started with the project kickoff in 2022, January. We had We worked on getting plans together. We had the initial steering committee meeting. We did a public survey, an online survey. We had key person interviews. There was a kids focus group meeting with your summer campers. Had more steering committee meetings. Had a first public meeting here in this room. We participated in Heritage Conservancy's Earth Day in May. Emily was there. Had more steering committee meetings. We prepared maps, plans, did more analysis work. We're starting to work on the report. We're drafting sections of the report, getting ready to wind things up. We brought a certified park and recreation planner to join the team. That's Patrick. We had another steering committee meeting, and we're here tonight for the second public meeting. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Emily to run us through the recommendations, the broad recommendations we have. There will be more detailed in the report, but we're going to start with those. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as Judy already mentioned, one of the big priority goals for the plan overall is, maintenance and prioritization. Bristol Township is extremely fortunate to have 29 parks, lots of open spaces, as we're going to see, as well as what's owned and maintained by the county, all for residents to access. So some of the overall goals are things that the township has already started working on. So as far as maintaining all of their 29 parks, the township has already engaged a CPSI, which is a certified playground safety inspector, who's been going through and performing park audits, identifying areas for immediate replacement, immediate improvements, as well as longer term fixes that will need to be made to particularly the playgrounds within the parks. Beyond that, the next sort of priority in park improvements is to look at some of the new properties that the township has gained, most notably the elementary school property that they came into. And another big priority is to look, and once again, something that the township has already started working on, is to look at, parks that are within CDBG or Community Development Block Grant eligible census tracts, because they can receive federal funding to make those improvements. And this kind of shows you some of the inventory and analysis work we did to pull together all of the existing parks, all of the existing open spaces, and that's both township owned, county and state owned, as well as privately owned park and open space parcels. So for trail recommendations, one of the big priorities is to prioritize safety improvements. So for the township's existing trails, existing sidewalks, and particularly those intersections, and a big focus on this is looking at getting people to and from neighborhoods, parks, and other community destination hubs. Another big priority is to continue to support the efforts to construct the East Coast Greenway section within the township, as we're currently referring to it as the River Road Trail. Those efforts are already underway, and so, big goal is to continue pushing that forward, hopefully to the finish line in the near future. Some other long-term goals include supporting and partnering with other organizations who are working to look at other trails within the township, including the Blackditch Creek Trail, trails within PICO right-of-ways, as those kind of have a built-in funding source, as well as an area of open space built into them, as well as longer-term trails like the Neshaminy Creek Greenway Trail and the Delaware Riverfront Riverwalk Trail. And as you can see, this map lays out both existing trails, shared use paths, bike paths, sidewalks. The Greenway, East Coast Greenway Trail is highlighted there in green, as well as proposed and sort of longer term future trails, like I mentioned, like the Neshaminy Creek Greenway Trail and the Delaware Riverfront Trail. So for the purposes of this plan, greenways really refer to corridors of natural resource and environmentally sensitive areas. So woodlands, creeks, riparian areas, wetlands, all that good stuff. And as you'll see on the next slide, the township has a lot of protection, both through their own efforts and the county's efforts. There are a lot of existing protection measures for the parcels within these greenways. So the priorities here, much like the parks, are, really to look at maintaining that preservation, looking for opportunities to improve them where possible, including invasive species management, riparian plantings and restoration, as well as looking at, opportunities in the township ordinance to improve natural resource protection efforts that could, continue to buffer and enhance these greenway parcels, as well as engaging with private landowners who may have properties within these greenways and may be interested in protections for their property in the future. So this map kind of shows both existing areas where the county and other agencies have previously identified greenways, as well as areas where connections could be made from the existing greenways to other protected and natural resources within the township. And finally, open space recommendations. As I mentioned, there's a big theme here. So Bristol Township, once again, as we'll see on the next slide, has a lot of currently protected open space parcels. The county has done a lot of work to protect open space within the township. So the big priority here is to look for ways to improve and, where appropriate, expand access for the public into these properties. So that includes native plantings, potential no-mow and naturalization programs for open spaces, passive trails where appropriate, as well as creek and river access points where appropriate. Another priority is to continue or consider partnering with PICO, as they currently own numerous right-of-ways within the township. They have a naturalization program that can work to create meadow habitat, so that would be an opportunity to partner, improve those open spaces without necessarily having to put the township, on the leading or financial hook for that kind of improvement. And then overall, just to partner with county, local, nonprofits, and private landowners to support preservation efforts. And as you can see, this plan outlines all of the open spaces within the township and then highlights some areas for potential open space improvements in the future. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Patrick, our CPRP, to talk about management and recreation recommendations.
Thank you.
How you doing? Thank you. So as Emily mentioned, I'm the CPRP for the project. My day job is with Middletown Township Parks and Recreation as a program coordinator. So my focus for the report is centered around recreational programming and overall department management aspects of Parks and Recreation. So to start with, I'll go over some recommendations for recreation programming. The overall goal and our recommendation for programming is to continue to expand what the department currently is doing with the resources at hand and adding on as many additional recreational program opportunities as possible. Right now, the staff does a great job with offering the summer camp programs and other arts and crafts youth programs in the township. But we're recommending expanding that beyond those programs into youth programming, adult fitness, any other demographics that they're currently not reaching. And then going hand in hand with that, reviewing the current revenue policies and making sure that any programming that's being added on is covering costs, and then bringing in additional revenue to the department to continue to be able to expand their impact in Bristol Township. And then along with that, finding partnerships within different organizations and program providers, both locally and in adjoining townships, to bring in those new programs. And by partnering with other park and recreation departments in the area, they can make sure they're focusing on maybe not offering programs that, if another township's offering a class and they can partner on that, it limits the potential for that program to be canceled for low registration and those sorts of things. We can go to the next slide. And then just as for overall for department management, the main focus is just to continue to look for ways to create efficiencies within the department and find opportunities to expand the staff's capacity to do more of the great work that they're already doing. We're recommending to be on the forefront of technology and new technologies for the department, specifically with recreation software and facility management software, sort of the backbone of what Parks and Recreation does. So by looking for any new opportunities to bring in new technologies, it'll create efficiencies within what the staff is currently working on. In that same vein, working to expand public outreach and letting people know what the department's doing currently. They have a really great social media presence right now. We're recommending adding on additional avenues such as a printed brochure or email marketing, creating an e-newsletter for residents to receive to let them know what the department is offering to the community. And then when possible, looking at different ways to add on maybe full or part-time staff as more programs are being added to the department and more revenues coming in, to allow for current staff to shift responsibilities and the focus on other ways to improve what the department's already working on. And I'm going to pass it back off to Judy to wrap up.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you now how we get from here to the end.
Okay. A lot of information.
It's a lot of information, and we're just doing the overview. The report will be very extensive, and we will be back before you with all of that, and you'll have time to read it and digest it. But right now, we're still seeking more public input to make sure we have full buy-in. So feedback from this meeting will be used. It will be compiled, considered, and incorporated into the maps, plans, and recommendations of the final report. So we do have a draft, a working draft. We want to make sure we have all the information needed to take it to final. So we'll continue preparing that draft report and refining it based on the feedback from this meeting. There'll be one additional steering committee meeting to review the final draft. And then the final report, any revisions that come back to us needed from that meeting and from the feedback from the steering committee will be done. We'll resubmit a draft to the township. It will be distributed to the group of you, and then we will be present at a public meeting to answer any final questions, and then hopefully for you to have the chance to adopt the plan. So right now, we're ready. People for comment, yes.
Well, you gotta come up. Yeah.
Just my name, no address, or?
Name and address.
My name is Kathleen Butler, 1702 Susan Avenue in Croydon. My question is, the Delaware Canal that you mentioned in there, is that part of the DNL trail? Sorry.
There is a portion of the DNL Canal in Bristol Township. If that's your question, we also have a portion of the East Coast Greenway. We have a number of trails, and they are mapped on the plan. We can get that for you.
Okay. So the second part to that question is, there is no connection between a portion of the DNL between the green, the Wawa by Green Lane, and there's no, you have to cross 13 just to get to the other portion. It's in there? Sorry.
That's a very good comment, and it reinforces some of the information that we've already interpreted and we've been applying, and I can have Emily speak to that for you just briefly.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, so that came up during the planning process. It's, a finely detailed map. So it is on, I believe it's shown on the map, but then more broadly, we also will have a general recommendation about looking at trail crossings for the DNL trail, because as we understand it, a lot of those intersections are not the safest or the best for trail users. And that's another good opportunity for the township to partner, since that is state-owned. But yes, we did include those. We hear you.
Okay.
We want them to be better too.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I do have another portion that.
Just so you know, too, the township recently applied with the partnership of CNR, wasn't it? We applied for the grant funding. Was it PEC? Yeah, Pennsylvania Environmental Council. For grant funding about improving that connection for that trail. We did not get the grant funding, but having this comprehensive plan that's one of the major parts of having this comprehensive plan will assist us to get more grant funding for all these.
I do. Okay. So there is also an issue of homelessness along the DNL. Is there a plan to address that? I mean, I have nothing against homelessness.
I'll take that, yeah. That is, yes, that is not a Park and Rec issue. That is a township issue, and the township is, township administration, along with the police department. I actually just spoke with County Commissioner Marseglia yesterday. We're working with Department of Community Development over at the county to develop a plan for all the encampments, not just the one on the one closest that you're talking about here, Route 13 and Turnpike, by Home Depot. Is that what you're saying? Well, that's Tullytown. But anyway, they can do a hop, skip, jump, and they're right in the township. But council doesn't even know this because I haven't even updated them yet on this one. But the county is working on a plan, getting it over to the township, that we will be working with to have a small task force to be going out to the encampments one by one and giving a timeline of working with the property owners of advising that the encampments have to go.
Thank you.
Hopefully in conjunction with an opportunity for the people that are living outside to find alternative. That's why it takes a little bit of time and planning. And, some years ago, pre-COVID, a lot of this did get addressed and stuff was done, and then the problem comes back again because that doesn't go away. So, thank you.
Is there any other comments on the presentation before we move forward?
I just want to make a comment. Some of the, the staff has been incredible and has done a phenomenal job thus far. I kind of got involved around May of last year, involved in the process. But some of the comments that, or some of the recommendations that are in there thus far, some of them you might have heard from Patrick. None of them are earth-shattering to us. A lot of them are the fact that we are growing, and we're a growing department, and we're doing very well, and these are all things that we were going to be doing anyway. Again, having them all in the plan only, yes, assist us in the future.
Yeah, and I was just going to thank the township and your staff and the entire committee, the rest of our project team. This has been sort of a dream project to work on. It's been really great. It's been amazing to see the growth and development in your Parks and Recreation program in such a short period. And the energy that they bring to this, some of the ideas they bring are great. And as Randy said, most of our recommendations are things that were in the pipeline already, and we're just really putting them down on paper and creating that policy for you. So thank you.
Could you tell me again what the timeline was? Final report is coming.
Well, we didn't have a definitive timeline because we didn't know how much would come out of this meeting, but it doesn't look like we need to do that many changes. So we're anticipating a final draft coming, or a draft coming before the steering committee in the next month or two, and then to you before the end of the year.
And all those maps that you flashed up there will be part of the report, because I'm
Yes, they will all be part of the report. You'll have the report in digital format and paper. I prefer digital because we can all blow the map up large enough to read, without having to fold out
I
and
don't
take off
want
your whole
paper.
desk.
I don't need paper. Digital's wonderful.
Yeah, everything will be digital to the township. It'll also be in a PDF that can be printed. You'll have
Great.
You'll have appendices of how to do things. The minutes from public meetings, they'll all be in there. You'll have full documentation of the process.
That's great.
Great. And I love the maps. I love the way you've broken down multiple different maps.
It's hard to see up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I'll just.
But I craved a closer look at them, so
Yeah,
great.
That's great.
Yeah,
Great job.
on behalf of the
Thank you.
project team, I say thank you because it's them doing the work, not me. But yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your kind words about our Parks and Recs department.
Yes.
We're proud of them, too.
Yes, we have a great
Thank you.
director back there. Brian, you want to stand up? Yay!
I want to thank them because coming in and then just being a part of that, and certainly Randy, it's been a great opportunity. It's also been eye-opening. I'll speak loud, there we go. Parks and Rec Director, again, I just want to thank these guys, because they've been a great help to me. Certainly Pat, his advice has been awesome, working with him, we had a chance to kind of talk a little bit. We just came back from a great conference up in Hershey, learned a whole lot about River Road Trails, which just kind of enhanced what I've learned in the meetings with these guys, and certain the people, the questions that I had that I needed answered up there, a lot of them were answered here, and it just kind of put a lot of things together, and I want to thank Cheryl, too, for all her help, and it's just been great. So thank you guys for the advice, for the help, and I look forward to continuing to build. Yep, thank you very much.
We're going to move forward on the agenda. Next, we have a public hearing on ordinances. We have an ordinance of the Township of Bristol vacating a portion of Manning Boulevard, a paper street in the township. Consideration, take appropriate action. Mr. Flagger.
Mr. President, Council.
This is an interesting,
This is a fun, this is down memory lane.
I think when you, Mr. Flagger, before, don't you, you've said to me, just when you think everything's good, it rears its head up again.
When you think just when you think you've cleaned up all the problems of the past, this is the truth. You can't even make this up. 57 years ago, next month, on the same day your council meeting will be, which will be, I think, May 18th, 57 years ago, there was an ordinance passed by the Bristol Township Commissioners vacating Manning Boulevard. The paperwork apparently was never filed. So therefore, it never happened, although it did happen. It's just, what happens is after you do this, there was apparently an interim manager that was appointed, and it's a solicitor that's not even alive anymore, and it's like, whatever. And the president of the commissioners in those days was a gentleman that we all know, James Klein. And the council had a lot of people that many of you know from those days, from way back. I asked Randy, was nice enough to try to find back. We only could go back as far as like 1971 to look for the council, but so we're not sure exactly. We know that James Klein was the president, and but that's about all that we can be guaranteed. The other people, including Harry Fawkes in 71, and Keogh, and on and on and on, all the names of the past were on that commission. So, make a long story short.
You're making it short?
Assuming you want, I said to make a long story short, you need to repass the ordinance. So, and then this time, I promise you, we will send it in, and we will get it filed on the records in Doylestown.
I'm going to make that motion.
Motion by Cindy Murphy. Second by Patrick Antonello. On the motion, is there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Randy. And next, we have an ordinance of Township Bristol establishing the south side of Hillary Drive between Newportville Road and Spencer Drive as no parking.
This is as a result of the permit parking that we're doing on Newportville Road for the residents on Newportville Road. The one resident now is parking, that was parking all the equipment and vehicles on that property on Newportville Road, is now parking right when you come off of Newportville Road onto Hillary. We have residents complaining it's a hard turn, they can't see when they come on. So it's just that one section of Hillary Drive from Newportville Road to Spencer Drive in that one area on the one side of the road. And so they can get out of their driveways and they're not hindered by the parking on both sides of the road.
Safety first. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Cindy Murphy, second by Patrick Antonello. On the motion, is there any questions? Push that button down.
There we go. I'm Anita Bosco. I live on the corner of Newportville and Hillary. I'm in full agreement that, yes, this is a big issue. We had an incident about a week or two ago. The fire trucks could not get down the road to an apparent house fire. So it had to go all through Dixon Ave and down and around. I see the school buses backing up. My first question is, what is the south side? turning in off of Newportville, is it on the right or the left? On the right. So they would not be able to park there? Okay.
That's where the trucks are now, the vans are now.
Oh, they're all in my yard too.
We know. That's why we're doing this.
So, yeah, I have a couple questions. I'm sorry, what was that?
Parking on the north side as well?
Both. It's
Well,
come to.
we can't restrict it on a public street. We can only restrict it on one side.
I
And the complaint
fully agree.
received is that there's 3 trucks that don't move on the south side.
Never.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that we're trying to eliminate the parking there. It can only be eliminated on the parking, and there's no driveways on that side. There's no houses on that side.
Yes.
So that's the part where we're not trying to impact the resident, basically your
It's
property.
well, they'll be able to park on my side.
Anybody's able to park on your side, correct?
Okay, so those vehicles, all those vans will end up on my side.
This is not in any disrespect, but I thought you were moving.
Well, we decided to stay.
Oh, okay.
Pennsylvania's got some really good tax laws now.
Not the best time to move, but let me ask you this. Where is the business located that's parking his trucks there? I know this story.
It's no business. It's the one resident.
I'm sure it's not
It's a resident who
registered.
owns a lot of
He does have a
vehicles.
business, it's all roofing vehicles. My
Okay, yeah,
question.
so he's parking his company vehicles at his residence, and since they don't all fit on his residence, he's parking them all over the place.
They don't fit on
I
the
got
lot
it.
anymore, it's overflow.
Right.
My question was, if we're not zoned commercial there, why are there?
Well, they're not
business
they're not, I mean, they're allowed they're the vehicle weight that they're allowed to be on a
Okay.
public street. So
Okay.
they're allowed, it would just be like anybody, like a plumber that doesn't have a business in his house, but he takes his work truck home and then goes to a site and works. That's what these trucks are.
Yes.
So there's quite a few of them, but I mean, basically, there's a lot of people that do that, and we allow them to park on public streets.
Okay. And my other question was, how will it affect the street sweeper? Like when the street sweeper comes through, I'm assuming he's going to be back again this year?
Street sweeper?
Every year.
I'm kidding.
He comes through like once a month, every like 3 weeks or something?
It doesn't come through once a month,
but what's
once a year.
It's once a year?
Yes.
Oh, it's less now then.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we ask all residents to move their cars off the street when the street sweeper comes through.
Okay. I just didn't know how that was going to work.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got
just
the
wanted
question
some
now.
clarification and
Got it. Thank
wanted
you.
to know what would be happening out front. Thank you.
So on the motion,
Another question.
oh, I'm
I
sorry.
have one more question. It says from
name and-
Newportville.
your name and-
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan Bosco, same residence. It says Hillary Avenue, from Newportville Road to Spencer Drive.
That was the first cross-section.
No, that's not Spencer Drive. Spencer Drive is the complete other end of Hillary Ave. That is Louise Ave.
Maybe,
Oh, Louise, I picked the
So it
wrong
would be
street.
between Newportville and Louise Ave, not Spencer Drive. Before you make all of Hillary Ave, no parking on that side of the road, you may want to amend.
Well, we can't amend because that was advertised.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll have to re-advertise it.
we could table this if you want and do it again later on. It's up to you.
No, we'll just re-advertise it.
Just re-advertise. I mean, we love the idea of
Yeah,
doing
we
that.
love the idea.
Okay.
But what you're making a motion on is the entire length of Hillary Ave. I don't think you want that.
Right. It's just coming off of,
Just
Off
Newport,
of
between
Newportville.
Newportville
Yeah,
and Louise.
right. Yeah,
Not
I put
Newportville
Spencer
and Spencer
Drive,
Drive.
not Louise. I meant to put Louise Ave.
Okay?
Right. So we're gonna have to table it for
Randy?
this month.
do we have to table it?
Yes.
All right. I'll make a motion, we table.
We have a motion to table this ordinance. Patrick Antonello, second by Sidney. Was that Marcia Dunlap?
That was me, sir.
By Marcia. All in favor to table? Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
No problem.
Okay, moving right along on the consent agenda. We have consider approval of voucher list and requisition dated April 20, 2023, in the amount of $3,732,750.07. Consider approval of March 22, 2023 council meeting minutes. Consider resolution for official sewage facility planning module for 2335 Prospect Avenue, Croydon. And last, consider resolution approving a 2023 program year community development action plan and authorizing its submission to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. I need a motion.
And make the motion.
Motion by Patrick Antonello,
Second.
second by Cindy Murphy on the motion. Is there any questions on the consent agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Next, we have a report from Township Manager.
I just have two quick updates. One is on the Edgeley/Randall Avenue Bridge, depends, I guess, what generation you're talking to. So just had an update tonight from our township engineer that I was just looped in on. What we had said, well, we were waiting on, we had a permit from Amtrak, and we were just waiting on getting the vehicles from our engineer. The requirements from Amtrak for our inspections for the vehicles are very detailed. So just so you know, the detail of it is they have to, Amtrak requires an inspection the day of for the vehicle to be inspected by Amtrak before they're allowed to go on the tracks, and that's a high rail and bonding and grounding inspection. So that morning, our engineers will go out there and have an inspection, and then they have 3 days on the tracks to go underneath the bridge and check everything out. Once they're there, they'll be able to see all the concrete, knock what they can off, and then we'll have better knowledge and eyes of the future of what we need to do for that bridge, short-term and long-term. And we'll be able to give you more updates after that. Just one of the things that, what Steve was talking about with our developments, even with having planning modules required for all of our land developments, just showing how busy Gilmore has been within the township and how economic development has been going in the township, which is a positive for this council, I believe, for our engineering and our sewer department. Just this month alone, Gilmore has worked on reviewed 62 land developments, 10 sewer projects, in-house sewer projects, 3 stormwater projects, and has worked on 8 other projects. That's just on the invoices. And, it might seem like a lot, $226,000, but I just talked about almost 100 projects. It's pretty good. So, just saying. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a report from Solicitor.
I have nothing further at this time.
Really?
Thank you.
Oh. Thank you. Township Engineer, you have anything to say? Kurt Schroeder from Gilmore Associates?
No.
He's speechless.
Okay, next we have new business or any other new business. All right, we're going to move right along. Other business. Is there any other business? Next, we have council comments from council members. Okay, and last, we have opportunity for residents to address council, and on it, we have Wes Wessler. Wes, come on up. Good to see you again.
Say, Wes, is it?
Oh, you're already
on.
Sorry, Wes.
They play them games all the time. I love it.
What's going on, Wes?
Works real well. Well, I was explaining last month about how the judges get, how do you call it, elected in the Bucks County? Well, I wanted to explain to Mr. Antonello exactly how it works. Yeah, how his neighbor, Bo Fleming, got in and became one of the hot shots of license and inspections. So he knows exactly how it works.
That department draws the hot shots.
They both live on the same street, so how you figure he got there? One of the next things I wanted to talk about is our park, John F. Kennedy Park. A lot of the residents have questioned as to why one of the residents that lives in my section, a fire police by the name of Howard McGoldrick, can ride his golf cart all around the park when it says specifically no motorized vehicles in the park. Now, I was told it's because he has all the training and this and that and the other thing. Well, he might have all the training and everything to do that job. However, he had a couple of strokes. He can't even get on and off of his golf cart by himself. He shouldn't even be driving, let alone be a fire police. He's taken up a position as a fire police in the township that could better be handled by someone else in the township. He shouldn't even be in that position.
Are you angling for a job?
I don't need that job.
I mean, because
No,
if you are.
I'm too old for that job. I had a stroke too.
Oh.
So.
I was gonna
you know,
say, you need
I
to
don't know,
move to
man.
my street.
Maybe 10 years ago might be a good idea.
Yeah, you gotta move to my street first.
Yeah, gotta be your neighbor first, yeah. Well, I
Let
could,
me ask you something.
I could go to
No, no,
Newportville
no.
and be Bowen's
Since you
neighbor.
brought this up, I'm curious. Did you check when Bo got hired against when he bought that house?
No, he might have bought the house afterwards,
yeah.
maybe. But I know he's your neighbor.
You're absolutely correct. He is my neighbor.
And
I
I
live
know
on the
there's-
corner, and he lives in the middle of the street.
And I know that there's 3 or 4 ordinance violations on your street that the police are supposed to be handling, but they don't.
Drop me an
And-
email. I'll
and-
check on
and-
that.
And I don't drop emails. I got these old forms, right, that they used to give in like 10, 15 years ago. Well, I got copies of them, so I fill them out, bring them in, and I give them a copy, and I get my copy time-stamped. And Bo was complaining the other day about, you're re-giving these in again? Yeah, buddy, with the old timestamps on them. From
Listen,
2
that's
years ago.
commendable. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just so you know, when you send an email,
Yeah,
timestamp.
yeah. But this way here, I got it right there, man.
It's
there.
more satisfying when somebody,
And, and
stamps it.
and I can bring it in here and throw it in your face. So say, council, how come they ain't doing this? So.
That
you
is
can tell-
delightful.
You can tell him and Bobby McTegg that, I could go down and I could drop him at McTegg's house to South Olds Boulevard too.
You know where everyone lives, don't you?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Do you
Hey,
often, let me ask you this, do
your
you
enemies-
often ride by just to check on things?
Yeah, your enemies,
Good to
they
know.
can't do you no harm because you know where they're coming from.
I'm hip.
You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, I can remember going past your house for 3 or 4 years and seeing a fence that was at a 45-degree angle ready to fall over.
Wes, you
Did
don't,
you
I see you
report,
did fix that.
let me ask you this, did you report me?
No,
No.
no, I wanted
that
to
was
see,
kind
I
of you.
wanted to see how long it was gonna be before they did anything with it.
I'm gonna tell you something, it would probably still be there, but a guy drove his car through it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
now, Wes, you don't look at my windows no more, do you?
You put a garage in my way.
Yeah, is that what it is?
I mean, you put that garage in my way right when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Right when COVID hit and there was no meetings, they were all virtual, then all of a sudden, Mr. Bowen come up with a big garage. I said, how'd that happen, man?
Well, it's called Brazilians. They came up
I
and
don't know.
framed it.
Who did the work, though? That's what I
Actually,
wanna know.
Portuguese.
Darn, we're out of time.
Yeah, I got one to give you about Worthington's house down there.
Next meeting, Wes. We'll look forward to seeing it. Thanks for
Edgeley.
coming out.
Good to talk to you, Wes.
So
Have a good
now we need a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, anyone opposed? No. Thank you. Have a great month, and end of the month, and we'll see you next